What is up, guys? My name is Lex. As you can see, no longer in Texas. We are back here in Florida, Hard Rock Guitar Hotel. It is a hot, humid night. I'm already sweating. I've only been out here for like 2 or 3 minutes. I actually wasn't planning on filming today. It's Tuesday around 9:30 p.m. My plan was to come in, play 510 for a couple hours, and then leave, but something happened. So there's a particular player here at the Hard Rock who has VIP status. Haven't really heard of this before, but apparently there's a guy who plays so big out in the main casino, blackjack, baccarat, whatever. He plays so big that they've named him a VIP player. And lately, he's been wanting to play poker. So the first time he came in here to the poker room, he bought in for $300,000 at a 25-50 game. The second time he bought in for $100,000, so he got everyone's attention pretty quickly. The interesting thing about this particular VIP player is that when he walks in, they don't want him to wait a single second for him to come in and sit down and play a game. So because he is a VIP player, they don't want him to wait a single second in line. So every single time he comes in, they usually start a new game immediately. Now about 5 minutes ago, he started strolling into the poker room. You know what that means. A big game is about to break out, so I put my name on the list. I got a seat. We're gonna be playing 10, 25, 50, probably $100 straddles in there as well. It's gonna be a huge game. Let's hope to run good. Let's get down to the table. Let's get to the action. Let's go. Starting out with a $5,000 buy-in, the VIP player limps under the gun for $50, folds to me in the cutoff. I have Queen 10 offsuit. I decide to ISO raise here to $200. The button makes a call for $200, which is not the best. Now we're going to be playing out of position, and now the VIP player puts in a limp re-raise to $1,000. Back over on me with Queen 10 offsuit. Don't think we can call here, so I make the fold. Next hand here, we're under the gun, only playing 7-handed now. I have Ace-7 offsuit, probably a close spot between raising and folding. This time I decided to go with a raise. I raise it up here to $125. I get a call from next to act player, the VIP player, who is playing basically every single hand, makes a call, and the under the gun straddler makes a call as well. 4 ways to a great flop for our hand. Ace, king, queen, 2 hearts. We flop top pair and the nut flush draw. VIP player checks, under the gun checks. I think a lot of the time I should just be betting my top pair here, but given the fact that we're multi-way, I have a weaker-ish kicker. I could be beat by 2 pairs and straights already. I decide to check. I feel like we're going to be way ahead or way behind in this scenario. Under the gun +1 checks back as well. And the turn is a pretty bad one. It's a 10 of diamonds. Now any jack makes it straight. I check again. Under the gun +1 checks, and we go to the river, which gives us the nuts. It's the jack of clubs. We were slow playing on the flop by checking, and the run out is pretty bad for our hand. There's now a straight on the board, so we're going to be chopping this one up unless somebody folds. The VIP player now talks for a while saying, well, I have a straight. There's a straight on the board. And we just tell him, look, it's on you. You can check or bet. And he actually shows his hand that he has queen jack offsuit. He checks. Other players check, and we all check, and we end up chopping this one up. You have to check or bet. Do whatever you want. Check. Chop it up. Chop. I had a monster, man. Look at my hand. Next up, VIP player limps in middle position. Button raises up here to $200. I have pocket 7s in the small blind. I think it's a pretty close spot. I think a lot of the time I should just be folding my hand, given the fact that I'm only 100 big blinds deep. But because the VIP player limped and he's most likely going to call any raise, I think it's a good spot to try to hit a set here and hopefully win a big pot. Under the gun makes a call. VIP player makes a call. 4 ways to queen 8-5, 2 spades. We completely miss and we check fold. The table lineup isn't bad for this 10, 25, 50 game. There's 6 other professional players. There's 1 recreational player and then 1 VIP player as well. I've noticed that a lot of these guys who are usually very 3-bet happy pre-flop are doing a lot of calling. I think this is because they're trying to play as many pots as possible with the VIP player. This information does come in handy in this next hand. I have king queen of spades, a beautiful hand in the cutoff. VIP player limps for $50. I raise it up here to $200, and now the small blind, who has been calling a lot of raises, puts in a 3-bet. He re-raises me to $750. folds back over to the VIP player who folds, and now the action's back over on me. Because all the other professional players are going to want to play pots with the VIP player, they're not going to be 3-bet isolating as wide. They're not going to have hands like Ace-Jack offsuit, King-Jack offsuit, maybe pocket 9s or 8s that they may 3-bet out of the small blind. They're just going to call those hands, hoping that the VIP player comes along as well. When the small blind raises it up here to $750, he knows that the VIP player is most likely going to fold, which is really the only person we're all trying to play hands with. So I think he's very strong here. Most likely has hands like aces, kings, queens, pocket jacks, possibly ace-king. But when the action gets back over to me, I'm about 100 big blinds deep. I don't want to let these guys run me over by folding to all their 3-bets. So with a suited Broadway, I decided to make the call. Unfortunately, we could be completely crushed by his small blind 3-betting range. He could have aces, kings, ace-king, and ace-queen. But we're making a vlog. We want to get in there. Let's play some pots. Unfortunately, we see an 8-5 deuce board, 2 clubs, not even 1 spade. Nothing going on for us here. So when he continues for $700, we make the snap fold. Unfortunately, nothing has gone our way so far. Early on in this session, we've lost every single hand we played. I decided to add on for another $1,000. We're in the game now for $6,000. Moving on, folds to me here in the hijack. I have King Jack offsuit. The small blind player is a recreational player and the VIP player is in the straddle, so I'm definitely going to be opening up this one, trying to play in position against these players. I make it $125. Small blind makes the call, big blind makes the call, and under the gun VIP player makes the call as well. We see a board that is decent for our hand, 4-4-3, 2 diamonds. Even though we don't connect on this board, I don't expect my opponents to be connecting very well either. I think they're going to have a lot of Broadway cards, they're going to have a lot of suited connectors, and on this board, they really shouldn't have much of anything at all. I can have all the big overpairs, so I continue for a $275 bet, just trying to get my opponents to fold out their ace-high hands, their queen or jack-high hands with equity. Unfortunately, the small blind comes along with a call, the big blind folds, the under the gun VIP player makes the call as well, so that did not go as planned. We're just going to give up here unless we improve to a king or a jack. The turn is an ace, an interesting card. I should have some strong hands like ace queen or ace king, but after getting 2 calls on the flop against these players, when they check to me, I decided to check this turn card back. The river is the 7 of hearts. It's possible if both of my opponents check to me, I could put out a bluff here on the river to try to get them to fold smaller pocket pairs, but the small blind has other plans. He leads out for $600, which doesn't make too much sense. I don't think he's going to have too strong of a hand after just calling on the flop, so I'm considering what my options will be if it folds to me, but the VIP player comes in with a raise. He raises it up here to $2,100. I make the quick fold. Small blind makes the call and shows ace-10, and the VIP player under the gun shows 5-6 for a straight. After losing that hand, in order to keep my stack around $5,000, I reach into my pocket, add on another 1K chip. We're now in the game for $7,000. We have pocket 7s now in middle position. I raise to $125. Button, recreational player, makes the call. Small blind, who only has about $4,000 in his stack, re-raises me here to $700. With the VIP player folding, we're actually not getting the best price here to set mine. We have to call a $700 raise, and the small blind only has about $4,000 in his stack. It's less than 100 big blinds, so I actually don't think I'm going to call this raise, and our decision becomes very easy for us when the under the gun player puts in a cold 4-bet to $1,400, and we let go of our hand. Next up, VIP player limps again for $50. We're on the button with a great hand to ISO raise. Ace-8 of spades, I make it $200 to go. The small blind decides he wants to play for more. He makes it $800, and we're forced to fold our ace-high. A pretty frustrating start to this session. We've been getting 3-bet and haven't really had any strong hands to defend with. We've also lost every single hand that we've played so far in the first hour and a half, so it's been pretty frustrating. Let's try to change that now with 7-8 of diamonds. I raise it up here to $125 in the cutoff. Button calls, VIP player calls as well. 3 ways to jack, 6-6, 1 diamond. Checks to me, I check, and the button checks back. The turn is one of the best cards in the deck. It's the 9 of diamonds, now giving us a straight flush draw. Any 5, any 10 will give us a straight. Any diamond will give us a flush. And the 5 of diamonds and the 10 of diamonds will give us a straight flush. The VIP checks again, and now with my straight flush draw, I'm going to be putting in a semi-bluff here. I can get my opponents to fold out better hands like pocket deuces, 3s, 4s, ace-high, king-high hands. The button comes along with a call for $175, and the VIP player makes the fold. I think the button's going to have a lot of flush draws, straight draws, maybe some pocket pairs that are unbelieving. Going to the river, which is the deuce of diamonds, giving us a flush. Finally, we make a hand. So now the question is, should we bet and how much, or should we check? Now, the button player is a very solid player. I have a ton of hours with him. I know he's capable of putting in some bluffs when he senses weakness. My thought process at the time is that the button checked back the flop and then just called the turn, so he shouldn't have too strong of a hand here that often. So with my flush, can we really get called by a worse hand if we bet? I'm not sure. Maybe he gets sticky with a 9 or maybe pocket 7s. But a lot of the time on the turn, my opponent's going to have straight draws and flush draws. Those straight draws miss like 8-10, Queen-10, and King-Queen. So if I check over to him on this river, he may try to turn those hands into a bluff, trying to represent a flush. So what was going through my mind is if I check over to him, maybe it will induce him to bluff with those missed straight draws. It's also possible we could be beat here. He could have called the turn with an ace-high diamond hand, king-high, queen-high, jack-high diamond hand, and all those hands beat us. The board is also paired. It's possible he could have a full house as well. I'm not really sure if I could get called by many worse hands if I bet here, so I decide to check. When I check, my opponent doesn't instantly check behind, so I do think he's going to be betting this river, and when he eventually throws out $450, I'm just going to stick with the plan here. No need to re-raise. I think I'm just going to make the call, so after about 5 seconds, I flick in the chips, and he shows us pocket jacks for a flopped full house. Our 8-high flush is no good.
I had out.
450, 550 change.
Alright, take it. Could have been worse. 5 of diamonds one time for the straight flush against a full house. Not this time. I end up adding on for $1,000. We're now in the game for $8,000. I'm stuck over $3,000. I haven't won a single pot since I sat down at this table over an hour ago, but we're not going to quit. We're going to keep playing here. Pocket 9s, I raise it up to $200. I get 2 callers, including the VIP player. The flop is King 8-8, 2 diamonds. When it checks over to me, I put out a bet, and we finally win a pot.
What?
Congratulations, Lux.
I won a hand, baby.
Won his first hand.
My first hand.
Popped your cherry.
Yes. Ah, it feels good.
Wow. Let me see how long it took you.
I needed that. It was about an hour and a half, right?
An hour and 14 minutes.
Wow.
All right, maybe that was the start to a massive heater. We're still playing here. 5, 6 of hearts in middle position. I raised to $125. One of the recreational players in the button, not the VIP player, 3 bets me to $325. We're about $5,000 deep with a suited connector. I'm out of position, but for just $200 more, I decide to make the call. We flop a gut shot on a queen high board and a backdoor flush draw. A decent flop for us. I check over to the button, who decides to bet pretty big, $350. If we call pre-flop with 6 high and we flop a gut shot backdoor flush draw, I don't think we can fold just yet for $350 versus a recreational player. I actually think a check raise would be pretty cool here, making it like 13 or 1400. Put a lot of pressure on his pocket 10s or pocket jacks, get him to fold out hands like ace king or ace jack. But ultimately, I decided to go with a lower variance route against an opponent who doesn't like folding. I make the call. The turn is terrible for us. It's the king of diamonds. I check. He instantly checks back. The river's a 4, pairing the board. Not going to bluff on this run out, so I check. He checks back. He shows ace 10 of hearts for ace high, and that's going to win. Getting crushed so far this session, down over $4,000 in just about an hour and a half. Nothing is going our way. King Jack offsuit this time. I raise it up here to $125. Small blind player, the same guy who just 3-bet me with ace 10 of hearts, 3-bets me again to $375. VIP player calls an under the gun straddle, and versus these players, no way I'm folding here in position with King Jack, so I decided to make the call. We go 3 ways to a 3-bet pot over $1,000 in the middle. We completely miss another board, 9-6-3, 2 diamonds. I'm expecting a bet here, and I'll just fold my king high, but both of my opponents check over to me, and I actually think this is a board that I could take a stab on. When small blind doesn't c-bet this flop, and the VIP player doesn't bet when checked to, I feel like they don't have really anything at all. I can get my opponents to fold out ace-high hands, and also hands with equity against me, so I make it $650. Same thing I would do here with pocket 9s, 10s, jacks, and queens, and flush draws. Action's back over on small blind. I am praying for him to fold so we can take down this pot, but he decides to make the call. So I immediately start trying to break down what kind of hands a small blind could have. He 3-bet me pre-flop, so we can assume that he has big Broadway cards, maybe suited aces or big pocket pairs. Now when he checks this 9-high board and then just check calls a $650 bet with the VIP player behind him, we can basically discount him from having big pocket pairs like jacks, queens, kings, and aces. I think he would always c-bet those on the flop. Heads up to the turn, a great card for us to continue to bluff. It's a 6 of clubs. It shouldn't improve my opponent at all. I think a lot of the time when he check calls to flop, he's going to have ace high or king high diamonds, or he's going to be floating us here with ace king, ace queen, ace jack of hearts, looking to pick up some more equity. So I'm going to continue to tell the story that I have a big pair. I'm going to keep putting the pressure on. I make it $800.
Javi? 800.
800.
If my opponent 3-bet pre-flop with like ace king of hearts or ace jack of hearts and he called on the flop looking to pick up some equity on the turn and then now faces an $800 bet when the board pairs, I think he would get rid of his hand pretty quickly. So when he calls here for $800, I narrow his range to basically only flush draws. I was really hoping for a fold there on the turn, but we don't get it. The river is a deuce of clubs, a total brick. My opponent checks over to me. We're stuck here with king high. We did not improve. Pot's almost $4,000. What the heck do we do? Are we really going to just punt off our entire stack here at 10.25.50 and go home losing over $8,000? I go into the tank now for a while. Should I shove all in? Should I bet smaller? Or should I just check and give up? I think there's merits to all options here. Going all in, checking, giving up, and betting small. Like I said before, my opponent 3-bet pre-flop and then did not c-bet or check raise his flop. I just think he never has big overpairs here. I think a lot of the time he's going to have ace high or king high diamond hands that he 3-bet and then called the flop with, called the turn with, and now is stuck here with ace high. So if we check back king high and he wins almost $4,000 with ace high, I'll just be kicking myself for not even trying. After tanking for about a minute, my heart rate is through the roof. My adrenaline is pumping. I've decided I've got to go for it here. I can't check back. I don't think my opponent ever has an overpair that plays like this. So I'm going to put out a bet, but I don't think I have to bet too big. I just have to bet enough for him to fold out those ace high hands that we're losing to. And I feel like a $1,200 bet will do that. So after about a minute, I slide out a $1,200 bluff. 12 black chips going in the middle. After sliding out this bet, my opponent immediately grabs chips like he's going to call. My heart drops. If I lose this hand, I'm going to be down over $7,000, one of the biggest losses of my entire life. He goes into the tank. My heart rate is through the roof. My adrenaline is pumping. This is a huge pot. My insides are going crazy, but on the outside, I'm trying to stay cool, calm, and collected. Pretend like I have a big hand here and I want him to call. I'm just staring at the board. I'm holding my sweatshirt over my neck so my opponent can't see my racing pulse rate. He goes into the tank for a while and eventually he decides. The small blind finally folds. I can breathe again. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. My heart rate was through the roof. We end up taking down about a $4,000 pot here, bluffing it off on the river with king high. We're getting closer back to even now. Our stack is close to about $7,000. In the game for $8,000, so we could potentially make a big comeback here. After this hand, the VIP loses over a $20,000 pot to seat number 1. He ends up calling it a night, which means the game is probably going to break pretty soon. We end up playing one last hand here with 7-8 of diamonds. I raised to $225 in the small blind, and one of the only recreational players at the table in the under the gun straddle makes the call. We flop bottom 2 pair on king 7-8. I continue for $225 and under the gun makes the call. The turn is a 9, a pretty terrible card. It brings in a bunch of straights, 5-6, 6-10, and jack 10 now make a straight. Also, this card could give my opponent a better 2 pair, so I decide to check over to him. He instantly checks back. River's a deuce. I'm going to go for value now. I throw out $700, which I think is just way too big of a bet, but it doesn't matter. My opponent folds. We end up taking down this pot. With the VIP busting, now the table is 7 professional players and then 1 recreational player. It doesn't seem like a profitable game for me. I was down almost $4,000 at my low point, and now I'm basically back to even. I'm just going to call it a night. I end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out.
Oh,
Hey, get down there. We've got Rogue and Arya in the house. Arya still has a ton of energy at 3 a.m. I don't know how she does it. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. We ended up playing 10, 25, 50 tonight. A massive game at the Hard Rock. Feels good to be back in Florida, but unfortunately, things just... look at this. What? What are you going to do now? Yeah. Ball's in the water. We just ran really bad in the beginning. Basically lost every single pot. Couldn't get anything going. Couldn't hit a board. Couldn't flop anything. Was down like $3,000 at the bad point. I can't focus now because I was down like $3,000 at the. Okay, come here. Just relax. Just relax. Okay. I was down like $3,000 at the worst of it, and then I finally made a flush, but versus a flop full house. So I feel like it could have went way worse. That's a massive cooler. I probably could have lost a couple $1,000s, but luckily didn't lose that much in that hand. And then I guess the hand of the night was King Jack offsuit. I was down like almost $4,000. I called a raise. I bluffed on the flop, bluffed on the turn. On the river, I was left there with just king high. I didn't know what to do. Pot was $4,000. Do I go all in? Do I check give up? Do I bet small? And ultimately, I decided to bet small, really trying to target my opponent's ace high and king high hands that can't call. And I would say when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and then when I finally put the bet out there, was probably the most nervous I've been in poker in a very long time. I think it was a combination of the fact that the game was big, and obviously because I'm bluffing, and also because I gave myself an $8,000 cap for this game. I said, look, I'm gonna give myself an $8,000 shot. I'm gonna buy in for 5 and then I'll add on, $1,000 at a time as I need it. But I didn't wanna get into this game for like $15,000 and then get stacked and lose $15,000, in one session. So I gave myself an $8,000 shot and I was in the game for $8,000. I was down 4. If I would've got called there on that bluff, I would have had like $1,000 left and I would have lost 8 or 7,000 in one session. So there's a lot riding on it. I was praying my opponent folds, and luckily he lets it go. We take down that pot, get closer to even. We win a couple other small pots, and we end up breaking even, I think, on that session. And our 5-10 session before that, we won a little bit, so ended up profiting $450 on the session. I will take it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you enjoyed watching Rogue and Arya. She's still going at it. Oh, she got the ball. He got the ball, it's all wet. More big, hopefully high-stake videos to come, but that is it for this one, guys. Like, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions, and until next time, we'll see you.